Welcome to the Behind the Drapes podcast. I'm your host, Expo Rich. We are here at SISO Leadership Conference. I'm joined by Angela Scalpello of Scalpello Group. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you meeting with me to talk about you and what your impact in the industry has been. The format that I have here is I love to learn more about the people that have been producing shows and that have been behind the drapes, and that's where I come up with the name, because what happens behind the drapes is pretty magical, and preparation and all the things that go together. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited about this conversation.
Yeah, I always like to start with kind of that hero origin story of how you first came into the industry, and where did you get your first sense and first experience for trade shows?
So my background is as human resources, chief of staff, chief people officer, etc. And one of my last few stints were with United Business Media, which is now Informa. Mm-hmm. And so, especially when I was working for Paul Miller out in California, mm-hmm. I really got a taste of the shows because we were doing Black Hat, we were doing Game Developers mm-hmm. Conference, and because I love connecting with people personally, the idea that there was this entire industry built on connecting people was so exciting to me.
Yeah.
And also because I am obsessed with business.
Yeah.
And the idea that we connected sellers and buyers and we created the marketplace for them to conduct business, to me, seemed like the smartest idea in the world. Mm-hmm. And I saw the way the industry operated. I thought it was really interesting. But how I really got involved in the industry was right before I left UBM. I was asked to join a group of women who had started to talk about this idea that I knew as an HR lead in the industry, that the industry at the time was 60% women, 40% men until you got to the senior ranks.
Right.
And then it changed. And a number of the women in the industry, and some of them in senior positions even then, Nan Walsh was running Reed North America, realized that when they would go to the CEO Summit, for example, mm-hmm. there were only men on the stage.
Right.
And I happen to love men. However, the reality is that it's not only men who have great ideas, it's not only men who can make contributions. And so I was involved in the start of the Women's Forum for SISO. Mm-hmm. And that's really where I started to get involved in the industry. I spoke at a number of the leadership conferences, the CEO Summit, mm-hmm. and then I started getting more and more involved with these women who were moving up in the organization. Mm-hmm. And by that time, I had left UBM and was out on my own.
Right.
And it was a perfect way to me to start working with rising leaders, men and women in the industry, and to really stay plugged into this industry, which I think is vital and growing. And in a world of artificial intelligence, machine learning and robotics, I don't think we will ever lose the need mm-hmm. for one-to-one, face-to-face human connection.
100%, I believe that as well. Nothing can replace that, the human interaction, And it's funny because that's one of the reasons why I only do these in person. I don't do them Zoom. So I love my interviews in person, and then that's why we'll bring this to events and have the opportunity to talk to a bunch of people. But or people come to my office and we do it. But right. I won't do it on a Zoom platform. So,
right.
You spoke here at this conference, and your focus on mentorship really struck home because that's something that I preach often, and we work throughout our organization as well. So it's so important, and being mentor is very important, but also having mentors. So who are some of the mentors that you had throughout your career that made an impact?
So because of the time that I was coming up in my career, mm-hmm. a lot of the people in senior leadership were men. Mm-hmm. I've been mentored by a lot of men. And one of them is now the CEO of Monotype, and his name is Nanan Chaco. Mm-hmm. And I helped hire him, and I became his head of HR, and he really challenged me. He really challenged me, and I think that in that mentorship relationship, that was what I needed. Somebody to sort of say, you can do more than this, Angela.
Yeah.
I want you to have a bigger voice in this. I want you to get involved in this.
Yeah.
And so he challenged me, and I think that was important. I think another one is, well, this is interesting because I speak a lot about mentorship, but I also talk a lot about sponsorship. Right? Sponsorship is somebody speaking your name when you're not in the room and saying, you know what? Why don't we think about so-and-so for this role? And in essence, that person sponsoring that person is spending political capital.
Yeah.
They're putting their reputation, their ability to assess talent and potential on the line, and that person is hopefully going to become the person that they tap.
Yeah.
And so a woman who both sponsored me and mentored me is a woman by the name of Jennifer Duvalier. And she was the head of HR for UBM for a point in time when I was there. And all these people are now friends, and some of them have become clients when they've moved on. Nice.
Yeah. That's one thing that we do, make lifelong friendships in this industry as well. We're such a small, it is really a small but powerful industry, and it's a common theme that when it comes up in almost every conversation, how even our competitors were friends. We support each other throughout. So
exactly,
and it's because of that, like we all work together at some point, on something. So
and we share context.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The person, even in a competitive show, understands my issues, my problems, my challenges, my opportunities, my excitement for the industry.
Yeah.
And that's a very wonderful way to have community.
Yeah, we have the same war stories.
Exactly.
So as we round out this year, what's got you excited about 2025, going into 26?
So what's gotten me excited about 2025 going into 2026 is that in talking to a lot of my colleagues, I know that there's lots of talk about acquisitions, about growing, about scaling, about moving into other markets. So I think after a difficult period of time coming out of COVID, that people are excited about dealing with the challenges. I also see a lot of interest in artificial intelligence, and not in a way that turns into a scary movie, in a way that says, how can we let machines do what machines do best? And then let's put our focus on what humans do best. So I see investment in AI, I see people wanting to learn more about it. And in fact, that was the focus of my session, was reverse mentoring, right? Letting our senior people be mentored by more junior people who are much more technologically savvy. Right? Who you have to be humble and vulnerable and say, you know what, I know how to say artificial intelligence. I have no idea how it could help us enhance our supply chain, help our registration, help me understand this. And so I think that's exciting, that we're all going to be open, hopefully, to learning what we don't know.
Oh, yeah. And very important to, be vulnerable, because that's the only way that you're going to adapt.
Right,
So.
exactly. And, I was having breakfast with a colleague, and I said to her, when a leader, male or female, acts as if they have all the answers, they lose credibility, because we're all smart enough to know that not one person has all the answers.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, and that's actually, I subscribe similarly, that, I tell people, look, I don't know everything.
Exactly.
And I'm relying on you guys to help me, answer questions, because everybody's got their own unique talent that they bring.
Right.
So I also want to ask, you've been part of SISO for so long. What has been the most important piece of your involvement in SISO throughout the years, and how has it helped you, and how have you helped it?
So the other night we were at the bar. It was the first night. It was a Monday night, and I was talking to a female leader in the industry. And we were reminiscing about the first time I met her at the early SISO conference. And we didn't really know each other, and she was having an issue in that moment. And having seen me speak she said to me, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this has just happened." And I said, "Why don't we go sit down and have a conversation about this?" And she said, "I never forgot that, Angela." She said, "You've had such an impact on me and my business and my life." And she said, "And look around this table." She started naming some of the women at the table. She said, "All of them think you've had an impact on their life." And I think that's what SISO has given me the opportunity, is to connect with women individually and to help them navigate their career journey, help them become better versions of themselves. And I think it's because people sometimes don't realize what they're actually capable of. They're capable of more than they even imagine. And so my involvement in SISO, the thing that's meant the most to me is my ability to have an impact on a number of the women that are now in leadership positions, and some of the men, and to also use my tenure, right? I've been in the business world a long time, to be a connector, to say, you know what, so-and-so, you should really meet so-and-so. They're doing something very interesting around generative AI in the marketing and personalization space. Or, you know what, you should talk to so-and-so because they looked at integration of an acquisition differently than you might be looking at it, right? And I love that. I've always loved that. Even since I was a little girl, I've loved that.
I sometimes get accused of being a serial connector as well, you know, because the other thing is, like, I don't feel like you need to monetize everything. You know, you just you put it out there, it comes back.
It comes back. And, you know, Adam Grant wrote a great book called, oh my God, now I'm going to Give and Take. And it's about 3 types of people. There are givers, there are takers, and there are matchers, right? And givers, I'm a giver, I'm sure you're a giver, they give because they believe in the person or they believe in the purpose. And they don't do it thinking, what am I going to get back? Takers take, period, full stop, right? And we can spot them a mile away. Matchers are a little tricky because they appear as givers, but what they're really doing is thinking,
Leveraging.
how can that person help me? And they're willing to give for as long as you can give. But see what happens when you stop being the president of a company or the head of HR at a company, right? They're no longer interested in helping you, right? And so the benefit of being a giver, even though it's never in the calculation of the giver's mind, is that people are always looking for ways to pay you back, right? They're always looking to do right by you because you always help them. And recently, my son is a soccer coach, and he was thinking about how he could do sponsorship for his team. It's a development club. And I just sent a note to all the women in my network in this industry, and I said, I need a favor. And boom.
That's great. Like I said, send it out and it comes back.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for doing this with me today.
Well, it's been a real pleasure.
And it's been a pleasure knowing you for these years now. We connected in the darkest of times originally, and now here we are today. So happy to be here with you today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.